Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast with Yuval Keshtcher with us today. He is founder and CEO at UX Writing Hub. We're going to talk about content design, content strategy, and most importantly, UX writing, which is a niche that Yuval sort of invented, quote unquote, in the last couple of years. Really excited to jump into it. This podcast has been brought to you by podpire.com, which is my podcasting agency. If you want to start, be invited, or scale a podcast, you can go to podpire.com. We even do sponsors if you already have a podcast so that you can monetize quite quickly. Podcasts are just amazing to meet new people, to learn, to network also because you can get a bunch of leads. You can get a bunch of clients for these podcasts. So podpire.com for that. Yuval, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and about your company, UX Writing Hub?
Thank you so much, Charles. Super excited to be here today. So my name is Yuval. I was born in Israel, and I currently live in Israel. And I have quite of a story. I did a lot of things in my past and in my career, so it's kind of had a lot of steps in the evolutions of my career. I will say that I did a lot of graphic design when I was a teenager. Then had to go to the army because it's mandatory in Israel to go to the army, and finished with the army, with the special forces of the Israeli army, and stepped into many different type of industries like real estate and sales and that kind of stuff. And then I found myself getting back to the source, which was graphic design. And then I understood that I'm barely making any money. So I did a transition for UX design, which was very new, very fresh. I really like to delve into like blue oceans. So UX design was a blue ocean back then, and it was nice. I had a chance to work with some really interesting clients. While I was working as UX designer, my entrepreneur signal was tingling, and I noticed that there is some kind of a gap in many product teams where we don't have any writers in our product teams, even though we do need to communicate our digital products in a better way. So that's where I created a community for UX writers from all over the world. It started as a Facebook group, then a weekly newsletter, then a podcast of my own, which is the Writers in Tech podcast. Check it out. And now we run courses basically. So we have the UX Writing Academy, which turned out to be the biggest UX writing and probably one of the only UX writing boot camps in the world. Today you call it UX writing also content design or UX content or content strategy. It doesn't really matter, but basically it's product writing. So all of the people that are in charge of communicating your digital products, such as if you work at HubSpot, for example, you have a dashboard. So all of the words that exist in that dashboard, so you, the user, would operate it in a better way. So the people that create those words would be the content designers of HubSpot or the UX writers. So I teach these type of people how to do that. And now I'm exploring more industries such as the generative AI and how it could impact UX, and the opposite, how UX also could work to create better AI experiences. And that's where we are today.
It's pretty cool. Why did you decided to start your own business and work for yourself?
I always wanted to have my own business. I had different businesses before this one, such as PubQual TLV. That was a business that I operated at some point, or a graphic design business, or being a manager of a store in a mall where I managed salespeople of cosmetics. So as I said, I did a lot of different things, and having my own business is something that I was always keen to do. I don't really like to work in companies or in different structures. I prefer to be my own boss and to have my own control on my life and the type of work that I do, even though I find myself work a lot of hours and at nights and at weekends and at holidays. And it's not easy, it's very challenging. But I like to control it. I think I do it well. And I have a lot of agenda that I like to promote in this world. And I found it more challenging to promote this type of agendas while working for others and earning decent salary. So I prefer to kind of take the control to my own hands. It went tremendously bad for the first years, but now it got better. Knock on wood, nobody promised us anything. Maybe next month I will work for other people. Who knows? But for now, that's where we are.
How do you face these challenges? How do you resolve these problems once they show up?
Which type of problems? There are so many.
Start with the ones that are more troubling to you.
So the problems that are the most troubling problem for any business owner is to have more expenses than income. That's the main business issue. So in order to work on that, I just try to work very hard, try to see an opportunity and to make the best out of that opportunity. I always aim for growth, so I try to be better than I did than the previous year. I also try to be efficient, means to see where I have too much expenses, for example, or where I can be a bit more efficient. There is something I really like to do, which is, I guess it's something that you are an expert at, which is automating stuff. So identify where, I can save some time. Let's say that I have an employee and they invest 12 hours a month in a task. So like automating that task so they wouldn't have to do it at all, or it will take them like 1 minute a month instead of 12 hours a month. That's the type of stuff that makes me really happy and saves money. So that's as a business owner, that's the type of problems that I try to tackle. Increase the revenue, reduce the overhead, improve efficiency. And the last thing I would say would be business development. So always be building, always try to look on what's coming up next, what will give more value to my audience, how can I reach more audiences, and that is a very broad type of thing, because you could do business development on the marketing aspects and on the sales aspects and on the product aspects, and all of that come together as well. And so yeah, that are the main things.
What are
Main
you
challenges.
automating nowadays, and what AI tools are you using to get paid more nowadays?
So I would say that I'm using AI tools to get paid more, but I am using AI tools to be more efficient. So I found that most AI tools are really efficient in analyzing large portion of data. So doing data analysis with AI, this is something I do. UX folks work a lot in research, or at least they should be working in research before creating digital experiences. Let me give an example. So I need to know you're Charles, you work right now on this cold email platform. Let's say that you're using Mailshake, right? Which is like this outbound reach cold email platform to the
Apollo, yeah.
audience that are not familiar with. Apollo, that's one of them. So there are a few terms in Apollo that you'd resonate with. Let me give you an example. In Apollo, when you want to add someone to some kind of a flow where you send them an email and then you follow up and then you follow up again, they call it a sequence, okay? And that type of term is a standard in the industry, because if you go to HubSpot, which have similar features, they would also call it sequence. So let's say that I'm building a competitor to these platforms. And to be honest, I am building a competitor to these platforms with one of my clients. So I have to do some research and to understand how people like Charles and others are used to call this specific feature. That's called competitor analysis. So I'm trying to analyze most competitors. And that's one type of research. You have many types of research, like user interviews, focus groups, conversation mining, which is analyzing online conversations, and so on. So what we used to do until not that long time ago is to just do a lot of research by ourselves. And I found that AI could be very helpful to do the research for you. So you can actually query and have some prompts that would give you this type of data and ask, like, what is the most common word for me trying to do this type of feature? And it will tell to me a sequence, or it will tell me HubSpot, Apollo, and Mailshake call it a sequence. Another app call it a flow, okay? It will give me some data. So that's how you can use AI to have better UX flow, for example. Yeah, and then you can have some insights and decide, like, hey, should I call it a sequence too? What people like Charles use to that feature, which is a sequence, or maybe I can give it another name, like automated email or auto follow-up or whatever. So yeah, AI is good with research. I use it also to automate meetings recaps. So I use different tools such as fireflies.ai to have meeting recaps. So it takes all the conversation, it gives me the transcript, and then it gives me the recap. So that saves a lot of time if you do sales calls, if you do user interviews, if you do like meetings and so on. So that's AI tool also is pretty efficient. And what else? I use Midjourney and that type of tools to create generative stock images. I had some success in that specific field where I generated some stuff that people found funny, and it went into the national news here in Israel, where I painted these dishes by this famous chef, and many people found it hilarious. And for me, it took a few minutes, and to be honest, it was just another experiment I did based on many other experiments, because I really, really like to use Midjourney. I find it fascinating. It can create a lot of art. And not only, I use it for branding, to create icons, to create graphics for my blog posts, and also the branding of my courses. And what other AI tools? I use Make a lot. So you have Zapier, which is more common, which is like the linear version of Make, but Make is a game changer. It used to be called Integrobot. It's a difficult tool. It takes time. It took me a few years to learn how to use it. But basically, it's the glue of the internet. You can learn how to connect a lot of stuff. You can even connect, for example, a form on your website, Airtable, and then GPT to take that data, create an email, and then send that email for you, and like automate like so many things. Build like integration for your email outreach, and so on. So Make is mostly like no code, I'd say. You can connect AI to it, but that tool can save you a lot of time. I use it also to run the learning management system of our courses, which is a group-based product, and building that small app helped me to scale the UX Writing Hub dramatically in the last few years. So I'm a big fan of no code,
Do you
building
think
stuff without using code. Yeah.
do you think UX writing will be replaced by AI?
That's a good question. Short answer,
or like let's call it when,
No.
like it's 100% yes in anything in this planet, but it's like when, or is it gonna replace it as quick as, let's say, classic copywriting?
So I feel like AI, I found it fascinating where most of the humanity had the impression that the first people to be replaced would be like the blue collar work, like people that work in factories and people that work in restaurants and people that work like, I don't know, like that kind of stuff. But we found that AI is actually replacing all of the smart people. Second, is there a chance that my microphone just doesn't sound good right now?
Yeah.
How about now?
Yeah, way better.
Okay, if it happens, just let me know. So anyway, let me step back. So we found out, like everyone found out, that AI is actually replacing the smart people, and like the smart, like on quotes, like smart stuff, like coding and designing and that type of stuff. While people that working in factories and that kind of stuff are less likely to be replaced first. And anyway, for now, I don't think that UX writing can be replaced by AI because the technology is not there yet, and we always need a human operator to understand the user journey, understand where the user came from, where are they going, in the specific scenario. We can automate like repetitive UX writing tasks and be a bit more efficient. But yeah, that's a good question. I feel like we're not going to be replaced soon. I also don't think that copywriters are going to be replaced soon. I think that good copywriting and good UX writing is going to be stand out above all of the noise that exists right now, which is like a lot of generated AI content.
Yeah, well, right now the quality is not like super high. I will get up very quickly, and
It will.
humans that historically might have taken 2 to 3 years to adapt might accelerate that adaptation rates. I feel a bunch of them will make the jump to greatness. VS just stagnated. I think it's just the model of like, hey, why do I need to improve if my employer keeps paying me and even gives me increase for my work that is not improving that much, I think a bunch will make the jump. I do think that tip top performers, they'll never really be replaced in any time. There's an odds that there's a chance that, yeah, it's like AI destroys everything, but I don't think, yeah, top players need to worry that much. But if you could explain what UX writing is, to me, it's the copywriting in an app, what goes here, what words goes here, and why. So it's like an intersection of, yeah, UX, product design, and human psychology, and what do we want written at this very spot, whether on a web app or a website and or a mobile app. So it's really intentful. It's way more intentful copywriting than normal copywriting would. What is content and UX copywriting?
So I'll step back and say that I don't think it will be a smart move to limit the idea of UX writing to the medium, to a website or a mobile app or something like that, because what I foresee for the future of UX and UX writing is more type of interfaces like AR interfaces, augmented reality, the UI of a spaceship, the UI of cars. So this is something we have today, but I guess that more and more cars will have like different type of UI that you'd interact with. Obviously, another component of UX writing is conversation design. So it's the way we interact with the chatbot and how it interacts with us. So it's not only about ChatGPT, but it's like how can we design something that is connected to ChatGPT, so it would design a better conversation with our user to help that user to reach their goal, whether if it's a financial goal in a banking app, or whether if it's an integration goal to integrate one product to another, because that's what they're looking to do right now. So UX in general, it's about, in my opinion, that's my opinion, but it's about connecting business goals to user needs. And if the business goals is to shoot a rocket to space, which we see some businesses doing lately, and the UX person would have to help the user that's launching that spaceship or space rocket to space and building them some kind of an interface. And it doesn't matter if that's a mobile interface, a website, or who knows what the future holds and what's the future of interfaces like. So that's a little bit about UX. And if we need to specifically talk about UX writing, so we will focus about the words that we use to communicate with our users. I gave you the example of sequences in the Apollo app, which is a term that is used. And the idea is to not make you stop and think. For example, you use Apollo right now, and I give you the same example, and I will give you more examples if you want. But let's say that you use Apollo to create that type of sequence. And let's say that I, as the UX writer of Apollo, decide one day that we're not calling it sequences anymore. We're going to call it a follow-up. So I change it for you. And now instead of sequence, you see the word follow-up. And now I made you think. You stopped and think about it. We don't know how the outcome is going to be, but if you stopped and think and it took you and you staggered and it was challenging for you to understand it, that means we created bad UX for you. And that's bad for business, because that means that if, and that stacks on top of different type of experiences, but let's say that that experience occurred and then you had another bug, which you had some issues to connect Apollo to your Gmail inbox and so on because of bad communication and you just didn't get it. So that stacks to a very bad experience in general. And then you find yourself saying, okay, so I will just use HubSpot, which is the competitor that maybe costs like 10 times more, and I really hate it, but everything is so easy to use, like click, 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 done, because the experience is so seamless. So HubSpot have a better business than Apollo just because they, not only because they invested in their experience, but because they invested also in marketing and they have brilliant content strategy team creating their blog. I'm not affiliated with HubSpot. I just find this example fairly easy right now to communicate in this specific time. But you can see it everywhere. You can see it in banking apps where they don't use compassion, for example. So something really bad happened, and right now you can't get a loan because you have bad credit. So the type of way, the way that you will choose or not choose, but the way that you will communicate with your user, that error message will break or make the user experience of that product, and that will break or make the business of that bank. Because if you would say something that would hurt that user, and that user would see something like they would be confused and sad and depressed maybe because they just got a loan that was not approved. So it's not about the UI anymore. It's about an experience that was extremely negative. And maybe if there were more psychological elements involved and more compassion and more research made by the people that wrote that message, maybe we could avoid that negative experience. Maybe we could tell bad news in a better way that people would resonate with. Maybe we could help that person to find different solutions because we can. And that's good for business. So that's in a nutshell what's UX writing, what UX in general, why it's good for business, and why it's good for humanity and people.
What are your top 3 goals for this year?
My top 3 goals for this year is to make the UX Writing Academy, which is the main program of the UX Writing Hub, and to be honest, almost the same as it is. It's very exclusive, very boutique. We have limited amount of people, so it's not one of these projects at scale. So I don't expect to have like more students. I know exactly how much students I'm going to have, hopefully. But even if I have only one student, I'm happy about it because I'm always doubling down on anything related to AI, no code, and UX. All of those connected, and the UX Learning Academy is one of them. So that's one thing, to make sure that we help as many as people as possible to get into the field of UX writing in our exclusive program that have the best placement rates, or at least one of the best placement rates in the world for UX writers because of its DNA. It's very personal, very exclusive. Every person get a mentor. You get to work as an intern on a real project. Nobody offers something like that. So that's the UX Writing Academy. We started this thing 5 years ago. So we have many people that really like our stuff. We create a lot of free content, like our podcast Writers in Tech, a weekly newsletter, a lot of blog posts, and so on. So to give more value to our audience through advanced classes. So that's something that's on our plate. And we've been experimenting with it a lot in the last year, but we have a new team of instructors, and yeah, and the idea is to level up. So if our academy program is 0 to 1, so the advanced program would be 1 to 10, more corporate stuff, so helping companies to not only to have better UX writing, but to have experts UX writers, people that understand the bigger picture, and to lead UX writers to leadership roles. So I gave you 2 already, and by the way, we plan to heavily as part of this to still do what we do, which is giving a lot of value to the international UX writing community through a lot of free content. So more events, like doubling down on our marketing. So that's 2. Number 3 is a new baby that I have. It's the AI Makers Lab. And the idea here is to be the number 1 cohort-based platform for people that want to learn about AI tools and how to use them. So that's for the broader audience. Yeah, so yeah, and all of that is part of like my one of my bigger picture. I call my vision, my main vision, I call it future proof, and it's just like building sub brands that help people to future proof themselves towards a better career. So I'm doing it right now through UX, AI, and no code. Probably in the future through more platforms, as the future will, as future we will try to future proof ourselves for future stuff. Yeah, so as I said, first goal to give everything I have for the UX Writing Academy students. Second goal to help people to level up at UX writing and UX in general. And number 3, building my baby, which is the AI Makers Lab, and help more people to get future-proof in their career, even like lawyers, architects, everyone, just to understand what AI is all about and how they can incorporate it in their careers.
Where can people find out more about you, Yuval?
I recommend to just check LinkedIn. I post all of my work over there. You can check the uxwritinghub.com website and sign up to the weekly newsletter. That's there. They're going to learn all of my takes about UX writing and also about UX writing and AI. So that's about that. If they want to have a mid-journey class, so just Google free mid-journey class and you'll reach to the AI Makers Lab website. You can have that. And if you want to take a free UX writing course, just Google free UX writing course and you go to the UX Writing Hub's website and take that course. So I'm sending a lot of free content for people right now. Yeah, the paid stuff comes later.
Thank you so much, Yuval, for the value you've added today. I'm Charles Cormier, your host, founder of wisdompodcast.com, where people can find us. Thank you to the full audience here.